by Dave. But today, Dave, the Honest Asian, will be covering the Beretta 92fs. So this is actually mine. He got it for me for our anniversary. It was really hard to find considering the times that we live in right now with COVID and whatnot. But this is actually one of the Berettas that was made in Italy, and he had it Cerakoted to a distressed purple, and he will include the name of the place where he got it Cerakoted. But I think you guys are going to enjoy this video. Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe.
So like Cass said, we are talking about the Beretta 92fs. If you can't tell, this gun has been Cerakoted. It is a battle-worn purple from ROE Defense over in Nicollet, Minnesota. That's ROE Defense in Nicollet, Minnesota. Link in the description below. Super awesome guys over there. They do all sorts of stuff. They do Cerakoting, custom gunsmithing, and they'll help you with all your NFA needs. Short barrel rifle, suppressors, the whole lot. So I can't recommend them highly enough. Awesome company to work with, and they'll take care of you. So go check them out. Now, the Beretta 92fs is essentially the civilian version of the M9. Both Cass and I carry the M9 pretty frequently when we were in the military, and we had kind of a love-hate relationship with it. But she wanted one, as a civilian to kind of, keep up the fighting spirit that she had. So, anyways, Beretta 92fs. It is kind of expensive for the COVID days. About a year ago, these were $100, $150 cheaper than what I paid for it. I did end up having to pay about $599 for it, $600. I have seen them go up, closer to $700, $800 and stuff. So I feel okay paying that much right now. And my advice to you guys is, if you guys can afford something, go ahead and buy it. You don't know what the future holds. Prices might come down, they might go up though. So, if you can afford it, go buy it. But this particular gun is kind of heavy. It comes in at 33 ounces unloaded. For like a frame of reference, like a full-size 1911 is about 50 ounces when that's loaded. So not quite as heavy, but it's getting pretty close once it's loaded up and stuff. And for being kind of a full-size gun, it fits rather well in for people like me that have kind of medium-sized hands. You can manipulate all of the controls, with the one hand. You can hit your safety, you can hit your, slide release, you can hit your mag release without kind of breaking your grip. And I know even for me, like my Glock 19, I do have to break my grip a little bit to remove the magazine, and then when I have to manipulate that slide release, I typically end up doing it with my left hand. So this one I don't have to do that. So that's just something to keep in mind. You won't really know until you go out and handle it, and especially with Beretta specifically, that's your best bet to do, is go out and find one at a gun store, get your hands on it, make sure, or see if it has, whatever features you want it to have, because ordering online can be kind of confusing. So, as far as the gun goes, we did probably about 350 rounds or so just the other day. We had one malfunction, and that was just a stovepipe. We're not exactly sure why that happened. That could be a multitude of different things. Ammunition, the magazine, proper grip, whatever. That's not super concerning at all. But the way that Berettas work, or this particular one works, is that the entire barrel portion of the slide is open. So what that means is when you have like a stovepipe or something like that, all you gotta do, so it'll be, halfway closed, all you gotta do is clear it and, possibly re-rack the slide, and it's good to go. So that's super awesome, or a super awesome feature that these Berettas do have. Having that open slide really assists with your malfunction clearing. Now, barrel is about 5 inches, 4.9 or so is what they say. This one does not have a rail on it. Some models have that, but Cass did not want that one, so we got this particular gun. Magazine, 15 rounds. I will say, compared to kind of some of the surplus magazines, they look very similar. They feed, whatever, everything's the same except for the base plates. The ones that came from the factory now are plastic, whereas the base plates are metal on the surplus ones. And then I don't know what this is for, but if you can tell, so on the, let's see, that'd be the right side of the magazine. There's a little cutout there. That's the only difference that I can tell, and I'm not really sure what that's for, but I'm sure somebody can tell me. Now, I really like the sights on these. I am used to not having these dots at all, but having these little white dots on the back there really make picking up your target super easy. There's not a whole lot much else to say about the slide and stuff. These controls are awesome. I really like that this has a decocker and a safety instead of just the decocker. That just adds another level of safety, especially if you're trying to carry this gun. So once we get to the frame and controls and stuff, frame, nothing crazy. This does have the combat trigger guard for whatever reason. I think some people tend to grip like this. I would advise against that, but it is what it is. So that's there if you want it. The grips on these kind of plastic grips on the side, a little bit thick. I wish they were just a hair thinner, but at the same time, I can manipulate all the controls. So speaking of the controls, you have an ambidextrous safety on the top. That's super easy to manipulate. You have your mag release right here, standard release. Some of these mags are still getting broken in, so they're not going to drop out all the time, but that will loosen up over time. The slide release here, like I said earlier, you can manipulate with one hand, even with kind of smaller hands like me. And then we'll talk about the takedown lever in just a second. But as far as the rest of the grip or the frame goes, no problems at all. Let's talk about the trigger. So the trigger on Berettas is a little interesting. It has a double action and a single action mode. Now, the double action mode is the hammer is going to be forward, right? So, say you cocked it, you didn't want that, ready to go, so you have that there, or you flip that safety back up, now you're ready to go, and you can shoot now. From here, that first shot is going to be a double action shot. When that slide when the slide resets, it's going to be, or leave that hammer cocked back and go into single action mode like a normal firearm. Now, that first stage is about 13 pounds is what they say, and honestly it's a pretty smooth double action trigger. There's not like walls that you hit up. It's pretty consistent pressure throughout that whole pull, and honestly it's super heavy. I don't think 13 pounds is too far off. Might be a little bit different, but your first shot is definitely going to be a lot harder to take than your subsequent shots if you're in that double action mode. When you talk about the single action mode, things get a little interesting. So first off, there is a little bit of play, but then you hit a nice solid wall. There's like absolutely no creep past that wall till it breaks, which is awesome. That trigger pull is probably, I bet 3.5 pounds maybe 3. On this particular one, this one has not had that many rounds through it, but I'm sure it'll break in a little bit over time, but this is an awesome trigger. Now when we talk about the reset, it's a little bit weird. Okay, so I'm going to show you. So if you guys can tell, right here, you hit that wall, solid, 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 break, right? The reset, you have to go a little bit past where the trigger actually breaks to get that. So let's see if you can't catch that again, right? So we shot, right? Right there is where that trigger resets, but I can still pull another, 2 or 3 millimeters before that's going to shoot again. So that's a little unique. Say what you will about it. I have no problem shooting this gun, but that's something that I don't see quite often. Usually it's gonna, that reset you're gonna hear and feel right where you're able to shoot again. So that's a little interesting. But now we'll talk about the takedown. So I know this is a new gun, and B, it's been Cerakoted. So Cerakoting, essentially they paint the entire thing, and tolerances come into play from the factory. So, you know, these Berettas, they actually do have pretty high tolerances from the factory. There's not a whole lot of wiggle. I think you can hear a little bit, and that's mostly going to be, I don't know. There's a little bit, but it's super tight, not super sloppy. So when you add Cerakote, like a thin layer of paint on all sides of the gun, it is going to be a little bit tighter, and it's going to need to kind of wear in to really smooth out. But so keep that in mind. So this takedown lever, so basically, normally what you would do was lock the slide to the rear. You push this button in on the right side of the gun, and then you flip this down, and it's normally not a problem. But having that Cerakote on there, for whatever reason, is like super stiff. So, let's see. So it takes quite a bit of force to rotate that lever down. And then you can drop the slide and pull it off. So, that's just something to be warned about. You're not really going to hurt anything, so if you have to put a little bit more pressure on, that's not a huge deal. And if you can see on here, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Some of that Cerakote is starting to wear off on those slide rails. That's completely normal, and it's definitely good for the firearm to kind of smooth everything out, make sure everything fits, to where it's reliable. So we'll throw this back together. I don't think we had any accuracy problems or anything like that. Cass is still getting used to shooting this one, more than just like a qualification scenario or something like that. So, it is an awesome firearm. It's reasonably priced, especially for COVID. Like I said, little on the heavy side, but there's a reason that the military chooses, or chose it, in years past. Now, when people say like military grade, I tend to chuckle a little bit. Actually serving in the military, military grade is crap. It's all made by the lowest bidder. But I will say there is kind of a caveat to that, and that is when it comes to weapon systems. The military does do very rigorous weapons testing and stuff. Not to get into the whole history of the M9, but basically there were a couple of requirements that the military wanted when they decided to choose this to replace the 1911. First off was magazine capacity. So these do have 15-round mags. They do make some that are more than that. Secondly, they wanted a gun that was going to maintain accuracy after a certain amount of rounds through it. I don't remember the actual round count, but I think it was like 50 rounds. They wanted a 3-inch group at 50 yards throughout 50 rounds. So that tells you, it's all metal, so it's going to, maintain heat a little bit better than some of the polymer guns, but at a cost. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys, though. But these guns have been around for a long time. They've been throughout the world and have worked reliably. We'll keep you guys updated as far as the finish on the this particular gun, or the Cerakote, if that starts to wear off or something. I'll definitely let you guys know, but this is a pretty solid little gun. We'll try and get some more footage of it when we got some more ammo. But if you thought this video was cool, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.